Time now to hear an emotional story about a man, Ian Macindoe, who is an enormous part of the Richmond Football Club, a part of its family, and he's had a very hard time of late.
It's almost that his body's shutting down and not letting him do the things that he has always wanted to and loved doing.
It's called MSA. It's very rare. There's only 2,000 people in Australia that have it, but it looks like Parkinson's when it's uncontrolled. So Parkinson's disease is the most common movement disorder that people see.
It's hard to see. It's someone you care about, and to see how tough it's been for him. And obviously he's a very proud person, and to have a debilitating illness like that is always going to be hard.
My friend Chris Bradshaw, who's a doctor at Geelong, used to be the club doctor here, and he always wanted to get me down here. I think I've attended possibly 300 games.
It can be really tough being in rehab at times, so he was always really good to be around. He was good fun, and always went above and beyond in terms of the rehab process and looking for ways to get me back on the track.
I've always been a big believer that good people breeds a good culture, and I think he's certainly one of those guys that's sort of helped create the culture that we have now.
The club's been very supportive, and from day one they always said, well, how can we help you?
We also had our dinner the other night
that we raised, I think it was about $50,000. So
it was great for him just to see so many people there. I think it's the most people we've ever had upstairs.
He's got the donation from the club. He's also become a life member, which is a huge one for us. And yeah, we're just going to give him a heads up and a helping hand wherever we can.
You know, as I say, it's football clubs are great places, how they look after their own and all that. But yeah, they've been fantastic for me and my family.
He's outstanding. Like he was, as Jacky said, he became rapidly known as a very good shoulder physiotherapist and worked with swimming and baseball, and had a very intelligent and very organised approach to shoulder rehab, which was really cool.
No, I really did look up to him then. He was a quality practitioner. I was really very keen to maintain Ian's involvement in the clinic, as long as he felt he could. And he's still very much part of our family. And
so I suppose, apart from being Ian's sister, I'm also the lawyer in the family, and in some ways that's helped through this process. Fortunately, we haven't had to draw on it much, but one thing Ian was really realistic about when he first got his diagnosis, he got some advice about there will be a day in the future, and you don't quite know when that will be, where you need to make sure that you have your affairs in order and you have the necessary powers of attorney for your wife and anybody else that you need to set up, so that you don't lose the capacity to make those decisions and have those requirements in place, and so that you can always be at peace that if ever you suddenly have a dramatic progression in your illness or something unpredicted, everything's in order and you have peace of mind. So we got together and made all of those arrangements with Jacky a number of years ago now, and I'm glad we did it all then, because at that time Ian was barely showing the symptoms of his illness, and it was an easy conversation to have and plan and organise, and we don't feel like we're needing to do those things urgently now. I think hopefully Jacky feels comfortable, and Ian, most importantly, feels comfortable that he doesn't need to worry about those things. But I think the second time that the legal side of it became relevant was a pretty frustrating experience that people with rare illnesses must confront often, unfortunately. But Ian, there came a time where Ian really couldn't work anymore. His physical the impacts physically on him of his disease were making it very difficult for him to work as a physiotherapist anymore. Balance in particular made things difficult, and Ian needed to claim his income protection insurance, which fortunately he had, but it was rejected. His claim was rejected, and it became very apparent that the reason his claim was rejected was because multiple systems atrophy was not an illness that was well known. It wasn't an illness, therefore, that was specified on the usual insurance policies under the category of illness that would qualify to claim on your income protection insurance. So other illnesses such as Parkinson's disease, MS, MND and other neurological diseases were all on that list, but there was no MSA. And as a result, the insurers said, well, it's not there, so no cover. Understandably, that was not something that we could just leave and accept, and Ian enlisted my help on that, and one of my fantastic work colleagues, a retired partner and still consultant to the firm, Pat McCabe, came to the rescue. Patrick got involved and had a look at this and took it on. And we assisted in writing some correspondence back responding to this denial of cover. And it became apparent that the insurance company's doctors weren't familiar with this illness and had done Dr. Google and formed the view that the reason for this illness was self-imposed, usually as a result of drug abuse. And that was a very, very devastating and difficult response for Ian to receive.
Multiple system atrophy isn't a famous disease. It doesn't attract much recognition from the lay community, from insurers, from community or governmental resources.
At the moment, they're not recognised within health. They don't have a clinical code within our acute healthcare system, which they really should do, because they're very complex conditions, and potentially they're conditions that actually take up a lot of healthcare resources unless they're managed particularly well.
But Patrick, not to be deterred, had some conversations with Ian's neurologist, Professor Williams, who was understandably very upset about this ill-informed opinion, medical opinion, and we pulled together more responses, and happily they ended up accepting cover. But you do wonder what it must be like for people that don't have access to help, as Ian did through me, and for me in turn through Patrick, to battle and take on some of these decisions where somebody might have had to take that to court and not been able to afford to do so. But I think it just reveals again the particular challenges for people suffering from illnesses which aren't well known and are rare.
I guess we're maintaining sort of our efforts to promote and raise awareness about these conditions. We're maintaining our efforts to fundraise for these conditions so we can support initiatives that both increase awareness and increase the clinical care that people actually get. Every year we're dedicated to actually developing healthcare professional and carer events dedicated towards people impacted by these diseases. So in our small way, we're working very, very hard unfortunately within our capacity. I mean, Parkinson's Victoria as an organisation has only got 9 employees, and we cover the whole state. So in a small way, we're doing our best to try and promote and raise profile of these conditions, and certainly collaborations with larger entities such as the Florey and the Alfred Hospital are really helping us to do that.
There's no doubt that there's a lot of research in the area of neurodegeneration, and to a large extent the progress made in Parkinson's disease and Alzheimer's disease will be relevant for considering disease-modifying therapy in MSA. And so they're good focuses and frequent focuses of research teams around the world, and we should hope that that sort of research progresses over time, and we hope that progression leads to strategies for modifying the condition.
I think all I'd really say in summary is I think Ian Macindoe will create a legacy and has set an example for so many people to follow. I think what he's doing to teach not only the profession but many around him about this disease and how one can continue to forge on and take each step as it comes is an example and contribution that many people will benefit from, and as do we, just as family members. You know, love his anecdotes. Don't know how many more historical stories Jacky can put up with, but we'll keep going with it as long as he wants to tell them.